Manchester United's quest for Champions League qualification continues when they host our beloved West Ham, who are questionably safe after West Ham.
Not questionably, mate. We definitely are.
I know. Tomorrow night at 6 p.m. West Ham have dragged ourselves away from the relegation trouble with a run of just one defeat in our last 5 games, including the fantastic victory over Watford 3-1 last time out. And now we just need a maximum of 1 point, or, of course, the 3 teams below us need to turn over, I think it's a 14-goal difference over the next 2 games that they play to ensure safety. Of course, David Moyes will be a lot keener than most to pick up 3 points against his old side. And then you've got Manchester United, who were soundly beaten 3-1 by Chelsea in the FA Cup semi-final clash at the weekend. But prior to that, had gone 19 games unbeaten across all competitions. They haven't lost a Premier League game since a 2-0 home defeat to Burnley back in January. And as a result, Solskjaer's men now find themselves in 5th place, extremely close to the Champions League spot. Welcome back to Irons United. I'm Anton. I'm joined by Stel. Stel, it's Manchester United. Give me your quick thoughts.
Well, I put it in the when I described the tonight's show. Both teams in form, apart from Man United's blip on at the weekend against Chelsea. Both teams in form, but at opposite ends of the Premier League. So I think it's all to play for. I mean, we also go into this game knowing that, I mean, barring an absolute disaster, an absolute calamity, we go into the game quite relaxed and play our game, and give them a go. They've got more to play for than we have, so I'm looking forward to it in a weird sort of way, even though we kind of haven't really got anything to play for anymore.
Well, I think, there's probably an element that we do. We just want to secure that 100%. We're 99.9% there, but it would be nice to do it on our own backs, wouldn't it? I mean, tonight could be confirmed if Aston Villa, which will be playing extremely soon, and we'll give you an update while we're doing the preview of their scoreline. Tonight they are playing, so if they get a draw, as long as they don't get a win, then we're safe officially. But it'd be nice to do it on our own merit as well, which I think we've done since we have returned. But we will come on to West Ham in a minute. And before we come on to West Ham still, let's take a look at our opposition. It's like that eerie music.
Well, you know what? Someone put up here, I've got to put the comment up because they have said, where is it? Here we go. Long Dark. Good evening, mate. Hardcore to mellow. And do you know what? That music, the intro music that you put up there, was so relaxing, such a blessing. It didn't make me want to feel frantic or want to slip my wrists. Yeah.
Yeah, but the music that I put up before that, see what you just described, that's supporting West Ham. See the relaxation, that's not West Ham, mate. You are normally frantic when you watch West Ham. You normally want to
I know, but you don't have to. You don't have to sort of make everyone else want to slit their wrists as well. So
listen, I don't need to do that. That's just West Ham for you. Anyway, we are here to discuss some of the opposition. Now, listen, some team news coming out of Manchester United is that Eric Bailly is almost certain to miss out after suffering a head injury against Chelsea in the FA Cup semi-final at the weekend. Well, Phil Jones and Twansby are also sidelined. But, Luke Shaw's struggling for a bit of fitness due to a twisted ankle. But let's talk about the man that everyone's talking about right now, and that is David De Gea. He's been in horrendous form for Manchester United still.
A lot of people are saying that maybe it's time for De Gea to look for a new challenge. Maybe he's just been there. He has been there quite a number of seasons, and I don't know. Sometimes goalies do lose their form, don't they? And it takes quite a while. Whereas when it's a striker or something like that, when a striker loses his form, when they score a goal, they kind of get back into it again. Whereas a keeper, what do you do as a keeper? How do you regain that form? How do you regain that confidence? I guess maybe keeping clean sheets is probably the equivalent to scoring a goal for a striker. but he's having a bit of a horror. I mean, and the irony is, Man U have gone back to what we kind of known of them in the past. They're scoring more goals than their opposition in order to win games. It's not that they're keeping that many clean sheets. So I think De Gea has contributed to that. Where he really hasn't sort of kept that many clean sheets over the past few weeks, and apart from the one there against Crystal Palace, they're keeping clean sheets against teams that are right at the bottom of the table rather than the teams around them. And look, 3-1 mauling against Chelsea at the weekend. I know that was the cup, but their opportunity to get into a cup final, and they fluffed that. And again, De Gea is not contributing to that, is he? Or he is contributing to that, where his form has not been fantastic. Yep. But yeah, what do you do? What do you do with a keeper when they, do you drop them? Because if you drop a keeper, that makes it even worse. Look at our problems a few months back. When Fabianski was out injured and we got Roberto in, and there was a call to drop him, but Pellegrini wrongly wanted to keep faith with him in order to maintain his confidence. So. Don't know. I think Solskjaer will stay with De Gea. I don't think he'll drop him. I doubt it very much. I can't even think who their sub keeper is.
Yeah, so, no, I don't personally see him dropping him. I think there's a lot of chat between United fans saying his confidence has dropped. I mean, I'm looking at the league as we speak just now, and they're just sitting in 5th place, 1 point behind the Champions League spot. So, they're going to. Sorry, no, they're equal in points. Sorry, with Leicester.
Yeah. But they've got a game in hand on them, so
they've got a game in hand.
That's tomorrow night's game.
Yeah, the goal difference is obviously equal as well. So of course, it's going to be such a big deal for Man United to try and push and get a Champions League spot. They've been missing for so long, and it will be, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at the start of the season. He was getting a tough time, getting a tough ride. Fans were starting to go against them. People were saying, is he the right man for the job? But fair play to United, they've stuck by him, and it could be questionable whether or not you could say the same about them sticking by Moyes or not. Did they give him enough time or not? But he's building a young side. Still, I think you've got some players here we're going to kind of look at as well.
I think there's 2 players that have made they're not more than 2, to be honest. Yeah. But this guy, Greenwood, Mason Greenwood, 18 years of age. 46 appearances, and that includes all his appearances, including Premier League 2, etc. 17 goals in total, of which 9 are in the Premier League, 5 assists. It's not bad for an 18-year-old. We talk about West Ham giving, pleading with West Ham to give youngsters a go. Man United aren't afraid of doing it, are they? 18 years of age, and how good is he going to be moving forward into the future?
Yeah, just came out of nowhere though, didn't he? Really,
came out of nowhere. Yeah, and they bought another player, a youngster, Daniel James, 22 years of age. He hasn't had a prolific season, only 4 goals in total, but 7 assists, which ain't as about on par as any of our players, to be honest.
But to be fair though, I think he was signed initially as a fullback.
Right. Yeah.
So he's extremely fast. He's pacey. He's clever on the ball, like you said. He's a young lad. But I mean, to make matters worse, I suppose you could say is they've got MICHAIL here, who's got 22 goals all season, 17 in the Premier League, and that matches Marcus Rashford.
Yeah,
22 goals,
exactly the same. Yeah,
22 in the Premier League. The interesting thing about MICHAIL, Pogba and Greenwood is the fact that the 3 of them didn't play. They all sat out of the game on Sunday against Chelsea. So they're likely to return to Manchester United's attacking lineup.
They're going for it. They need, you look back at that table, they've got everything to play for. They want to get in the Champions League. And what an achievement after Solskjaer getting so much, a lot of people saying he's just not right for it. His time at, was it Cardiff, when they had really poor managerial run there, and people were saying, how can Man United bring someone like Solskjaer in who really hasn't proved himself in any way, shape or form? And yet look at this season, they're 2 games away from getting into the Champions League, and that is pretty good going, isn't it, for them? And there's one player I'm going to bring up in a minute who's been really quite revolutionary for them, but
well,
going for it.
let's talk about him if it's who I think you're going to talk about. Bruno Fernandes.
Absolutely, what a player!
Yeah, he's unbelievable, and I think at one point in our career, at West Ham's lifetime, we have saw him linked to us.
Of course, he has. Yes,
I think it was a dreamland we were in, probably still. But
just like all the other players we've been linked to, mate.
He's been central to their prolific run, and since his debut for the club in February, no Premier League player has been involved in more goals across all competitions.
Yeah,
and that is 17 goals he's been involved in, scoring 9 times and creating 8 more. He's an
incredible player, and he's made Man United go back to the Man United I think we kind of all know or have known in the past, where he's made them. He's got flair, he's got skill, doesn't mind getting stuck into a couple of tackles and stuff. He's so creative, and he's transformed what you could argue has been an average team into quite a really very, very decent team, and they've only got to add to that squad next season 1 or 2 players, or maybe another 1 or 2 players coming through the youth ranks, and they're going to be quite a force to be reckoned with next season, I reckon. He's got them buzzing, Solskjaer, and I mean the players we just put up, we could have put more up. You've mentioned Pogba and all the other youngsters that they've got coming through the ranks. I can't think of the blonde-haired boy's name who plays left back when Luke Shaw isn't playing. They've got a whole host of players that are coming through the ranks, and they, with buying someone like Bruno Fernandes, they bought quite wisely. He's just revolutionised that.
Well, I mean, he's experienced and at a top level. Questionable whether you want to say the Portuguese league is top level, but he's got Champions League experience. I mean, the boy's only 25 years old, but in the since February still to be involved in what did I say to you? 17 goals. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's just top level player.
We've got there, by the way, a Premier League, so that's why that's not quite up to date. But unbelievable. I mean, that shows. I mean, I know we're going to talk about some of the players that have kind of revolutionised the remainder of our season, but he's been, he's just a brilliant player, isn't he? You can't deny he creates chances out of not almost out of nothing, but it looks like he reads the game really, really well, really easily. He makes it look really easy. It's as if no one's in front of him when he's sort of passing and moving the ball around, and you can see. I mean, you can see where Man United's priorities lie. The fact that they've rested a number of players in order for them to come back for tomorrow night's game. They would have liked to have got into the cup final. Who wouldn't? If you're in the semi-final, I'm not suggesting for a minute they threw it away deliberately, but you can see their priority is tomorrow night. And but all fair, all dues to them. They're going for Champions League, but we can go out there and we can play a relaxed game because we haven't got anything to lose. I don't want to get a spanking, but
we'll come on to West Ham in a minute, because I find that even that is a bit interesting to see where West Ham set up. But we will come on to West Ham in a minute. I want to just briefly go back, or even before we do, make sure you keep the comments coming in. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the thumbs up, and do remember that we are live. There you go. Do you like that music for you still? Listen, before we move on,
I didn't see anything happen there.
Before we move on to our, did you not see anything? Oh, you did.
No, I saw a blank screen.
Before we move on, I want to just go back briefly to De Gea. He has been famously prone to errors for a couple of years now. But it's really kind of got absolutely terrible, especially at the weekend. I mean, I don't know if you've seen some of the goals he conceded, I'll
be really honest. I didn't watch the only game I've seen all week has been the West Ham game. I haven't watched any other. I guess because our season's just about done and dusted. I can't really be asked about watching anything else.
De Gea is first. He allowed the Giroud flick to go past him, despite getting a good amount of his body behind the wall, while a weak Mason Mount effort from long range squirmed under him embarrassingly, given his position. And you could even argue that he was partly to blame for Harry Maguire's own goal too, highlighting just how miserable the afternoon at Wembley was for them. that'll give West Ham a little bit of hope, I suppose you could say, with our current attack. Before we move on to West Ham, is there anything else you want to discuss on Manchester United?
I think. Well, yeah, I just think we've got to. They're a force to be reckoned with going forward, and we've already mentioned, you've mentioned Martial, you've mentioned Rashford. They're scoring for fun. This boy Greenwood, they've got so many options, and then Fernandes as well. They've got so many options to pick and choose from, and then of course there's Pogba. When he fancies it, he turns it on, doesn't he? And
he's kicking in a bit of form again still. I mean, let's look at Manchester United. Season stats. They've played 36 times. They've won 17 games. They've lost 8 times. They've scored 63 goals. So there's goals there, as we have just seen. They've conceded 35 goals with 12 clean sheets. Still not as much as Burnley, but they still have 12 clean sheets. You've mentioned it. Martial, Rashford both have 17 goals in the Premier League. Greenwood next with 9 goals. Fernandes has got 7 assists. Rashford 7. Daniel James 6. It's just coming left, right, and centre. Like there is goals there, and that's something that West Ham's going to do. Is going to have to be shutting up shop to protect ourselves.
It'll be backs to the walls tomorrow. I hope not. It'd be horrible to see us having to play that way.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that we don't have to worry about the result. But it could be a bit of a backs against the wall and trying to hit them on the break tomorrow.
Let's take positives where positives are there. West Ham have edged results recently against Manchester United, winning 2 of our last 4 and drawing once.
Well,
and the most recent meeting ending 2-0 to West Ham last September.
We have, yeah.
Isn't it funny to think?
But if you look at that stat, mate.
I know, but we don't look at that stat.
We've won. We've won twice away. And they were quite famous wins, weren't they? And but overall, it's not. I do want to take a positive. We got 12 draws out of them. That's a positive. But it's What the last couple of games against them? Have I got that stat up? I thought I created that stat. Maybe I haven't. The last couple of games against them, we beat them at home.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't be afraid of them. We can quite easily get a result from them.
But we definitely don't like traveling to Old Trafford. That's something that West Ham don't like doing. But
not unless we got Di Canio or an Argentinian in the team.
Although one thing you can say is when Manchester United are fighting for something and at one end of the table and West Ham are fighting for something at the other end of the table, it does make for an interesting game of football. So you never know what could happen. I know we are technically safe, but anyway, let's get on to our beloved West Ham still. We came off a fantastic victory against Watford 3-1 that more or less secured our safety in the Premier League. I know we're talking about specific players, but since the return of Project Football or Project Restart from football, Antonio has scored more Premier League goals than anyone else. Jared Bowen, on top of that, has assisted 4 goals in his last 5 games.
Yeah,
these guys add that to the mix of Souček.
Who signed? Well, it's not been announced, but the signature
I find it really interesting. Do you know what? He's not signed.
Well, people say that he has, so there you go.
He can't physically sign. So he can say he's going to sign, but
right.
He physically, no paperwork's there. I love this kind of reporting, and I'm not digging out any of the reports. That's why I purposely no one put anything out on our tweets or our Facebooks over the last couple of days. It's a no-brainer the guy's going to sign, because the stipulation in the contract was if West Ham stay up, he's going to sign his contract.
Yeah.
So it's a no-brainer. The next thing you're going to get is people saying he signed at 1 o'clock or he signed at 1:30 or 2 o'clock.
Well, there's been a couple of things, hasn't there? There's been apparently Noble has signed a contract extension and Souček signed a permanent contract with West Ham. And as you said, well, for Souček, actually, for neither of them are true. But it's just weird how we kind of we follow social media to try and get the latest news, and even social media doesn't always get it right, sometimes.
But like we say, we always like to wait for the official news that gets put out there. So we'll as soon as the deal's done, which we all know is done anyway, because West Ham are, safe. We'll definitely announce it. But we're talking about Antonio, for example. Let's have a look at him. For 30 years old, he's got 9 goals this season, 3 assists, and questionably still, good point you put there, Hammer of the Year contender. I mean,
for me, I think there's probably 2 or 3 players who are Hammer of the Year, and you can't deny that Michail Antonio has had a fantastic last half dozen or so games, and he always plays with his heart on his sleeve. He always puts 100% in. Hasn't always come off for him. I mean, the number of times we've said it, if he had a better touch, he'd be a great player. And then all of a sudden, he shows the form that he's shown over the past few games. And the reason why I put Hammer of the Year contender there is because, for what he's done since our return. But yeah, what can you say about him? It's quite interesting. If you can see, his contract ends next year. There's quite a few players whose contracts are ending end of next season. But there is talk about Antonio's contract being extended. There's an option to extend it for another 2 years, and I'm pretty certain that will happen. That'll get him to 33 years of age. So you could probably get another good season and a half out of him, and then maybe. The injuries will start coming in, and he's got a lot of bulk, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So you can sort of imagine that he'll start slowing down a bit. But the one good thing with him, he can be utilised as it's been proved. He can be utilised in a number of different positions. So if he does start slowing down, you can maybe see him. I don't know. He's played at right back. Maybe see him dropping back in a position like that in the future, or something like that. But yeah, I think he deserves the potential for being Hammer of the Year. He's not my Hammer of the Year, but I think he deserves to be mentioned in that ilk.
Well, we do know who your Hammer of the Year still is, and we'll do a separate video for it. But it's your man here, Augie. But listen,
let me tell you for why. Because it's interesting. I was listening to the More Than Just a Podcast, and they said more or less the same thing that we were saying at the weekend. People say, why would you give would you give the Hammer of the Year to a player who's in defence when our defence has been awful? And my argument is, well, imagine if he wasn't there, how bad our defence might actually be. And let's not forget, we've had a really bad defence for a number of seasons now, and last season we gladly gave it to Fabianski. So I think what Ogbonna's done, he's been, mate, you may cringe, but I think what Ogbonna's done is he's been a stalwart in that defence.
Oh, still, I'm sorry, mate.
Let me talk, and then you can have your say. He's been a mainstay in that defence for a number of seasons, and he's not the greatest of defenders in the world, but I'll tell you what, he's become more and more reliable, and I think without him this season, we'll be in a worse position. And let's not forget, he was dropped by Pellegrini early in the season, which wasn't exactly the right thing to have done, and he had to be brought back into the team to be alongside. There you go, P-Man. Thank you. He was brought to be alongside Diop again in order to strengthen that defence. Yeah. And the argument is, well, we shouldn't be giving it to a defender because we've been crap. Well, if he wasn't there, we might be in the bottom 3 right now. So. Well, that's why I think he deserves Hammer of the Year for me.
There's a good debate to be had there because, questionably, I could say that if he wasn't there, that maybe things would have been better. I'm not saying, but the thing is, what I don't want
not to be, wasn't to be.
You've had your say now. You've had your say.
Go on, then. Have your say. What has he gone?
Hold on a minute. We aren't here for the argument. We aren't here for an argument about Ogbonna. But the only point I'd say to you, and any fan that's watching tonight, is there's an argument for both elements. That I think the fan base is reasonably, suspect on him. Half of them are, he's one of our best defenders, but currently, in my opinion, we don't have great defenders. And I agree
with that. Yeah,
but we'll wait and see. I think he's done. Listen, I'll always give him credit when credit's due. I thought he's performed reasonably well. Since we've done Project Restart. But since Project Restart, we still have conceded goals, and there has been a few faults from all the players. Anyway, that's another topic. Still, that's another day for another day. We know that Ben Johnson is going to start the game.
Yeah.
His...
apparently Fredericks is fit again and he's ready to start. But I think there's a good argument to say that Johnson should play in order to give him that bit more experience, and I wouldn't disagree with that.
Where's the 74 appearances from still?
They were Premier League 2 appearances. That's why I put 2 league appearances. That's why I put 2 Premier League appearances below. So they're Premier League 2 under 23s. I mean, this guy, if Pellegrini trusted him, he only played 1 game of the last season, which was against City, and I know we lost that. But he played really well, and we were hoping that we were going to see more of him this season. Pellegrini took him out to China during pre-season, so there was every intention to actually integrate this player back into the first team, but injuries put paid to that. And so when he came back from injuries, he had to, he went into the under 23s to sort of gain his fitness again. He got injured again, so every time they were about to bring him into the first team, or certainly into the squad, first team squad, he got injured a couple of times. So he's been a bit unlucky. But it's quite interesting that Terry Wesley made a comment at the weekend that he was really happy to have seen Johnson play, and he said, and he's been saying this for quite some time. We're all upset that we lost Ngakia, but Johnson is the real deal. Johnson is the future, and even Johnson spoke about Johnson is a through and through hammer. He's another one that's come through the ranks. He's West Ham through and through. He's absolutely proud as punch to be playing for West Ham, and he's the sort of player that I think will give his all. He had a shaky start against damn it, who did we play last week? Watford on Friday night. Not a great start, but he got into the game. He calmed himself down, and he had the experience around him, and he didn't do too badly. And I think it would be absolutely the right thing for Pellegrini, for Moyes, to stick with him for the next 2 games. Give him that experience. Give him a taste. Give him a feel. Let him go out and play against Man U. Let him go out and play against Villa, and let him absorb the what it's like to sort of be integrated into the first team. Because if we don't buy a right back next season, I reckon it'll be Fredericks and Johnson competing for that spot.
Yep, it'll be an interesting one, and it's good to have that competition back there. One player I know you spoke about last night or on Sunday night in your show with Nigel was Mark Noble. Mr. 500 for the club. You can see there 60 goals for the club, 61 assists, 500 appearances, etc. A lot of people, even in the comments, are saying that they would rest him for this game in particular against Manchester United because they think some of the players in their midfield would run rings around them. But I feel like I've got an argument for why I would play him.
I would kind of agree with that. I mean, we put up a potential first 11 and it hasn't been changed, but I reckon there will be changes, and I think Noble might be one of those players that will be rested so he can start in the final game of the season against Villa at home. And I know we don't have any fans there, but I think potentially I can actually see maybe a couple of changes happening tomorrow night. And Noble could be one of them, because I think people are right. You don't want to see Man U nippy. They're fast. They got Martial drops back. Rashford drops to the wing to pick up the ball. They all drop, but when they pick the ball up, they're bloody fast. And the last thing you want to see is for Noble to have rings rung around him tomorrow. And I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't start. And maybe Moyes tries to put a team that might match Man U like for like. I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, and there's nothing against Mark Noble. I think he's acquitted himself really well the last couple of games, especially the criticism that he got and Moyes got when he was putting the team against Norwich and proved us all wrong. He played decently against Watford as well. So It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me, but I don't think it'll be because of lack of form. I think it'll just be, because of the game that's coming up. Man U are going to be nippy. They're going to be fast. So
I'm gonna come back to you with a Mark Noble solution, but before we do, make sure you get the comments in and let us know who you think or what starting 11 you would like for West Ham tomorrow night against Manchester United. So Mark Noble still for me I've been a fan that has commented and said he needs to be rested when he, at the right time, when he's had a run of games and he's not performed really well in beside Declan Rice. What's changed all of that is a certain player that we signed.
Obvious, isn't it?
Yeah, on loan. And it's Souček. So what he's done is he's been the box-to-box midfielder that we've been craving for so long and giving us that support mechanism beside Declan Rice. But what it has done is given a breath of fresh air into Mark Noble's footballing ability. And it's a little bit like when, Wayne Rooney, albeit there were different positions when he was at Manchester United, he played as a forward. Then the older he got, his legs were dropping. He was dropping more into a centralised midfield. He would get a hold of the ball and he'd ping passes left, right and centre. What this has kind of created is a kind of diamond in the middle with Souček and Rice in behind Mark Noble. And Mark Noble doesn't need to track back. Mark Noble doesn't need to use his legs.
Yeah.
But it's funny, I've seen some comments saying that Paul Pogba would run rings around Mark Noble. The funny thing is, with Mark Noble in that forward position, I genuinely don't think they will.
It won't be Noble having to worry about him.
It won't have to be Noble that's worrying about it. The players that have to worry about it are Declan Rice and Souček. Have you watched Declan Rice with these two players in beside him, supporting him? Declan Rice's footballing ability in the middle of the park has always been top-notch, top level. But when you watch as Souček moves forwards, Rice is looking back and going, right, on you go.
Well, I said this in the review and at the weekend about Souček. They're all playing. All three midfielders are looking out for each other, because when Souček was running forward to score his goal, he did a quick look back to see if someone was behind him, and Rice was sort of not sitting behind, but he could see that Rice was there. If the attack had broken down, then Souček would have known that Rice was there to sort of cover that midfield, and so Souček made a move further forward, and then scored that diving header. And I think that's what's happening with all three. Between the three, you're absolutely right. I mean, what a bit of a... I mean, we criticise David Moyes about his tactics, and yet no one saw it coming that he just told Mark Noble, you go further forward.
Yeah.
And when we all saw that against the Norwich game, we were all scratching our heads. We were like, what's Mark Noble doing so far up front? But good move, because it meant, as you just said yourself, Mark Noble didn't have to worry about dropping back when we lost the ball.
He's an extremely clever footballer. He can find a long pass, he can find a short pass, and he's got the grit and determination to go and win that ball back. Now, the thing is, when West Ham fans struggle is when he's protecting that back four, because he's a little bit older.
Doing too much.
But it's too much pressure on him. He lives and breathes the club. He loves the club like we do. And it is too much for a guy like him. But they've found this kind of diamond formation in the middle with these three players that have a very, very, very good understanding with each other. If anything, it's definitely given Mark Noble a massive boost. But credit where credit's due, Mark Noble is performing to the top level and offering us a going forward threat and also an ever so slight protection in front of Declan Rice.
Yeah,
which gives Declan Rice a little bit of a less job to do. It's a little bit like the sweeper role. If they were both playing in defence together, Declan Rice would sweep up any of the problems that Mark would get through Mark Noble, and that's quite a good position to be in. But the fact that Mark Noble can create going forward, and this is my argument for potentially not changing the side. I don't think we need to change the side for Manchester United.
I don't think we do. Well, this is why I think we're all quite relaxed, because there's nothing. I know I keep saying it, and I don't mean it in a really shitty way. There's nothing to play for. But there is everything. We want to keep winning. I think we want to keep the momentum going. But it gives this game, the last 2 games now, gives David Moyes the opportunity to do whatever he pleases in terms of team selection, and no one's really going to sort of worry too much about, well, that's going to cause us this problem or that problem. It's like, it won't matter now. You know, we just talked about Ben Johnson going in at right back and staying at right back, because now we don't have that pressure on us. And that's why I don't think it really, you know, that's why I think he'll probably drop Noble and give him the, and good point, Scott, you know, Noble for Wiltshire for Noble. I can see that. I can actually see that. I can actually also see Allaire starting. Maybe Noble drops out and you've got Antonio and Allaire up front. You know, so he's got options now, David Moyes, and he can start putting players in who haven't had a few, you know, haven't had a good number of minutes. Because let's not forget, when the season ends, the new season is going to start very, very soon after. So we're not going to get too much of a pre-season. Might get a few friendlies in or something like that. A bit like in between, you know, when we started the when we restarted playing. So that the actual season itself, the new season, is not going to be too far away, and it might be a good opportunity for him now to start playing Allaire, Wiltshire, a few other players that just haven't had those minutes on the bench. On the pitch, which is why if he doesn't play Noble tomorrow, it's not such a big deal, because he can now experiment and see what else he wants to do up front. And I wouldn't be surprised if Allaire and Antonio started up front tomorrow.
What I find to be interesting potentially tomorrow is the fact that, you know, the pressure has been lifted ever so slightly. But I do believe that he will go in with what he believes currently is his strongest 11 since Project Restart. The only difference I will see, and this is my position on it, that he may make substitutions earlier because the game is not so reliant on West Ham having to win. So he may experiment, like we know, having the opportunity to have 5 substitutions. We may see like the players like Wilshere come in a lot earlier over Noble. We may see Haller come in to give support up to Antonio up front. And then, because, you know, there's no question about it, when Haller came on, I thought he looked quite decent and gave, at one point we were doing the watch along still, it was Haller alongside Bowen and Antonio, which is the thing that the fans are wanting. And do you know what? We've got 2 more games to go, and we need to give players that chance to come back into the game and fight. One of those players being Felipe Anderson.
Well, interesting, yeah, because much maligned, and everyone's saying he's going to be sold. And all right, if he's going to be sold, he's going to be sold. But you know, let's give him a little boost and say to him, you know, say to the likes of Anderson, Allaire, maybe even Wiltshire, and say, 2 games to go, show me what you can do. Because don't forget also, David Moyes is probably thinking already ahead, you know, going forward into the new season, who am I going to keep and who am I going to sell, or who am I going to try and sell? And you know, if Anderson, I'm not saying one game is going to change it all, but if Anderson can have a good game, if Allaire, I don't think Allaire will be sold, but if Anderson can have a good game and demonstrate what we all know he's capable of doing, it might make Moyes think, all right, you know, he has got something. Let's give it a try, and let's keep him rather than sell him. You know, and a number of players are kind of playing for their futures in a way. Wiltshire, I know, would be difficult to sell because of his injury. You know, the number of injuries he has, but even Wiltshire's got something to prove, and Moyes has to think ahead. But that aside, like you said, giving players some game time. Haller, for me, is one of the players that has to be given more game time. And I think Haller will start tomorrow. I actually really do. Whether he'll start in front of Noble or ahead of Antonio, I don't know. But I reckon he's the sort of player that will actually be given game time tomorrow. And and it will be the right thing to do. But also, as you said, bring players in a lot sooner at half time, make a couple of changes at half time, bring some fresh legs on, bring other players in.
Just quickly, to let everyone know, Aston Villa are currently beating Arsenal 1-0. So they're fighting.
So glad we didn't have to rely on other teams to stay up.
They've got 13 more goals. Is it 13 more goals to get to start the process of turning it over? So let's just hope.
I predicted, I said that despite where Aston Villa are, they're one of the teams that could easily pull out of this. Well, easily. They're one of the teams that may pull out of this. And it wouldn't surprise me if Bournemouth and Watford went down with Villa surviving. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
People are coming in saying game time for Masuaku, but we're not going to go down.
Let's look. There's sense and then there's stupidity, Jeremy.
So listen,
I don't know. I've got to stop dissing Masuaku, haven't I? I really have.
Yeah.
I mean, after all, he's assisted 1 goal this season, and that's been an absolute revelation for us that he's assisted in 1 goal. Sorry, I can't help it, but there you go.
So still, people are talking about making changes. Fornals take Noble's place and bring Haller in up front. Antonio left, Bowen on the right. I don't have a problem with that either way. And a lot of people are kind of agreeing with that, giving Wilshere a run out, etc. But for me personally, I just think that, I've gone on. I was talking to a colleague at work today, and I was saying to them that they were asking me about West Ham, and I was saying, one of the comments I make every week when I talk on here or talk to my family is consistency. Consistency is something we lack. We lack when we sign a manager, when we sign players. I was trying to get some stats there while I was talking about Felipe Anderson, trying to look at the games he's played in this season and the games he's started. So he's played 24 Premier League games. He's substitute appearance 4 times and started 20 games. Now, of course, he's only had 4 assists and 1 goal. But what we do know is he's played over 2 different managers in several different positions for the club. And for me, though, when we know that Felipe Anderson, I could get shot, people might come in and, do you know what? Let me know if you don't agree with me. And it's fine if you don't agree with me. I'm not going to fight with you over it. But Felipe Anderson, for me, is a player. Yes, he's a luxury player, but we have seen what he can offer to a club like West Ham. And if we can find the form still, if we can find that big player in him, see when he attacks, there's not many players still that can.
I'm an Anderson fan, and I know people are going to laugh at that, because he really hasn't delivered this season whatsoever. But if he finds form, I mean, I don't know what the hell happened. I don't think anyone knows what happens. Where from last season, what we thought was a massive promise. What he was going to do, and then bringing Fornals in, and we're all thinking, good grief, we're going to really go places, and it just all fell apart. And Anderson just lost so much form, and maybe he's not the sort of player for a relegation fight. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what we've got too many of. We've got too many players that when we're doing well, they're doing well. But when we're not doing well, they won't roll their sleeves up, or they can't roll their sleeves up and really get involved in a dogfight. And we need a real balance. But, Anderson...
Comments are coming in still, and people are saying he's down tools and Lanzini and he wants them gone. People are saying they don't want him to play, rather Fornals out of position, etc. But, I still question whether or not Anderson's been managed properly since he's joined the club. I'd love to see him in behind the front line. Could you imagine an attack of, could you imagine, I'm just saying, like Haller, Antonio, Bowen, Anderson.
And Anderson. Yeah, I can. I can. And even now, despite it not really working out, it makes me think about how many goals we can score. And we got some, you don't become a shit player overnight. It's the same as Haller. You don't score something like 17 goals for Eintracht Frankfurt one season and then become crap. And there's got to be a reason for it. Is what I'm trying to
tell you the reason right now. West Ham.
Well, this is it, mate. This is it. What do we do with players when they come to us? Haller, he comes from knowing that he plays in a 3 or a 2 up front, and then we buy him and go, right, out on your own, son, and go and do what you did against when you played for Frankfurt. Ain't going to happen. Anderson, when we know the type of game he has, he's not a defensive minded player, so he can't do that tracking back because that's not what he is. He's a number 10. But then we expect him to go out on the left and then track back and cover for Masuaku or Cresswell, whoever's playing at left back. And that's not his natural game style. So we buy these players and then we ask them to play in a system that doesn't actually suit them. I'm not defending Anderson because I think he's had an absolutely awful season, but there is a player in there that I reckon could sort of, I mean, I don't know. He could deliver. But then we've got other players that are coming back. We got, there's the argument that we've got people like Bowen, we've got Diangana coming back, who could probably play out on that left side and cut in the way Bowen cuts in from the right. There are other players that we can use. I know we're looking at other players as well. So maybe Anderson will go. I mean, he is one. There's an awful lot of talk about him leaving, and I think it will be a shame because we haven't seen the best of him. But I understand what people are saying, that they think it's time for him to leave.
We're coming to that time of the show where we're going to ask for our predictions. But before we do, we want your predictions for the game tomorrow night against Manchester United. Get the comments in. We'll quickly run through some of them before we continue. So get your predictions in. Still, you're suggesting that you think Moyes will make a couple of changes without going through the team. What are the changes, straight to the point, with the changes you think?
Well, Johnson will keep his place, even though Fredericks is fit again. So to me, that's a change because you would normally expect Fredericks to start. And I actually really do think Allaire will start tomorrow. I really do. So I think there'll be 2 changes, maybe 3. It'd be interesting to see if Fornals starts. Johnson, Allaire, and Wilshere starting.
Interesting. Right. So still,
how about you?
Yeah, no, I personally think it's going to be the same team, to be honest. But what I think we'll see is potentially a game of 2 halves, and we may see a different team run out in the second half, which then leads West Ham into the Villa game, and the Villa game will be
You're not wrong, Jay. You're not wrong.
Jay, yes, you're not wrong. But what I will say to you is, it's not just me,
mate. I'll be honest. I've created a lot of them, but I don't create the music ones.
Yeah.
And when I did on Sunday night, everything went black.
Yeah.
For about a minute. And the bandwidth, my internet bandwidth just couldn't handle it.
So, listen, the comments are coming in for people's predictions. So, still, West Ham travel to Old Trafford in front of no fans. Live on Sky, 6 p.m. kickoff.
Wow, Joe.
What is your prediction?
I don't actually. I'm going to be positive. I'm going to say 2-2. I know it's a draw, and people are going to go, "Well, how positive is that?" It's positive because we're not going to lose. 2-2. Right. 2-2.
Listen, I do see goals still. I mean, West Ham's stats for the season: played 36 times, we've won 10, we've lost 19, we've scored 47, conceded 60 with 7 clean sheets. Project Restarters saw resurgence in Antonio. I'm going to sneeze. Bless me. Says live. So it has seen a resurgence in players like Antonio, Bowen, Souček, etc. I see goals both ways, and I want to see West Ham try and get a victory. Go for it. Why not? Try and just secure ourselves.
By the way, before anyone, the guy that's been swearing at everyone, Real Alex 2K Blunt, has been booted out. So my apologies for him swearing at everyone. He swore at a couple of people. So apologies for that. Sorry, mate.
Didn't even see them comments.
Yeah, no, I because I've got YouTube running on my phone.
Got you.
See, yeah.
My predictions are going to be it's a prediction that we hear a lot. And are you ready for it? 3-2 West Ham. Classic. An utter classic.
Well, have you seen Jones? Should we put that up again? She said 4-2 West Ham. Yeah. So you've both obviously been drinking from the same bottle of rum.
So before we go, we are doing a live watch along again tomorrow. It's actually a match day live, so make sure you tune in. I think you're around still.
Yeah, of course.
And of course, myself. We need to work out.
It's an early start. Don't forget, people. It's an early start.
Yeah.
So 6 o'clock. So that means we'll be coming at you with team news at quarter to 5. Are you going to be able to make that?
Yeah,
Are you sure?
100%. Already negotiated what's happening. So listen, we'll be live tomorrow. Make sure you tune into our match day live. Let me reiterate about our match day live. It's not my fault. It's not my fault that we're delayed. I'm watching live on the telly. I'm watching it live. It's still an Alf's connection.
Okay, let me just explain, because he's trying to throw me under the bus here, or me and Alf anyway. We don't commentate on the match. If any of you have been on our match day live, it's a bit of fun, a bit of banter. It's the sort of stuff that you would do if you're at a game. And the number of times I've missed the goal because I'm chatting away to someone and someone's gone, "Oh, so and so scored," and I'm like, "Oh,
Still,
yeah."
that's a normal for you at the stadium.
It is a normal for me at the stadium. It is. But I'm not going to tell everyone else what else is the normal for me when I'm running around with the shouting and screaming and the C word coming out of my mouth. So but and so it's a get together. It's a bit of fun. Of course we try and give you a bit of update about the game, but I know 3/4 of you are watching the game and you're about 10 minutes ahead of us. So it's a get together. So
we're going to do it while we're live. Stell's not going to break to us if West Ham or Manchester United score. He's going to let us watch it organically. So we can
the thing is,
celebration.
I get my alerts on my phone. So I'm watching it and my alert comes up before I've even seen it on the screen. So but
listen, join us tomorrow.
But then that means we got to stop everyone telling us the score in the comments, and they ain't going to do that. So why would they?
That's fine. That's fine. But just as long as you don't still. They want to see our organic celebrations. Listen, join us tomorrow night for our match day live. We'll be doing that, and then straight after that, we'll go into a review. 2 separate videos. We'll have a bit of banter, a bit of a laugh. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. Make sure you get the comments in. And yeah, let's just get behind the side from our couches and hope that we can go and get a result at Old Trafford. We definitely deserve it. We've done well since we've been back. So let's just hope it works out. Anyway, I've been Anton. He's been Stell. We're Irons United. Come on, you Irons.